This is a alignment mirror reading for Hannah. As a reminder, the alignment mirror spread shows us cards that reveal our inner life, what's going on in my internal world, my outer life, what's happening in my outer world, and what steps we can take to make sure that our inner and outer lives are in alignment. And by alignment, we want to ask ourselves what life we envision for ourselves, where we are fully nurturing and honoring ourselves to the highest potential. So things that we consider with this spread are: what am I here to learn? What am I here to teach? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to impact? And asking my body and asking the universe if I am on the right path, or just asking us to look inward and see if we really want to continue with the path that we're on. What I found really interesting about this spread, this is the second time that I've done a spread, a alignment mirror reading for Hannah, and we had two cards that were the same from the first reading and the second reading. I always shuffle my decks. I always draw the cards randomly based on what I'm feeling. So I always think it's fun, and I get a lot of repetition with my readings. So I think it's interesting that these particular cards wanted to reveal themselves again. And the first card for the inner life position is the play card. And this was one that showed up in the first reading. And in the first reading, this card showed up in the position of what steps we can take to come to alignment. And this card is now in the inner life position. And the play card asks us to think about what activities bring us joy in our lives. I think a lot of times we try to put play on a higher level. Like, play has to be a designated activity. I'm making time to do this one specific thing that's going to bring me joy. I need to make time in my life to do this hobby. I need to make time in my life to complete this activity, to complete this goal that will bring me joy. I think what this card is asking us to consider is, are there any actions that we can do just for the action, not looking for the result? With creative hobbies, with activities that bring us joy, a lot of times the focus is, okay, what is this going to bring me? What am I going to achieve with this? What the play card asks us to consider is, what are things in my life that I can do and have zero expectations going into it, but still get that small moment of joy? What are some of the little things in our life? For myself, one small moment that this card helps me call to mind is drinking chocolate milk out of the carton in front of my fridge. It is a moment that we don't have any plans beyond just that simple action of getting joy from drinking chocolate milk, and you don't even have to care about pouring yourself a glass because you're a grown-up and you can do whatever you want. The play card also, along that same vein, wants us to remove any shame that we hold for doing activities, doing things that bring us joy. We see on the imagery of the card, there are the two dolphins. I think this is important now more than ever as we are facing isolation like never before with the pandemic and everything that's going on. The dolphin is an ally for those who have a tendency to isolate. This card shows up and it is a reminder for us to find our pod, because dolphins are empathetic and social animals. So this card showing up is a reminder to find that pod and nurture those connections with others. And I think this card specifically with play and nurturing connections, I think sometimes there is pressure on forming connections to make things very formal, thinking that things have to be a certain way. This card is encouraging us to just take those small moments and make those small connections that can be just as important as the really heavy ones. This card is also encouraging us to find the relaxation in social environments. And of course can be difficult in the current situations that we're in, but it can encourage us to be a little bit inventive about ways to connect with other people, because it is reminding us how important those light-hearted social interactions are, and how we need to remember these, because it can be so easy to get caught up in being alone, especially during quarantine. The next card that we have in the position of aligning our outer life is the Power card. This is one that has shown up for me in a couple different readings. I think it's always interesting to see cards that I have a connection to that tend to show up in my readings. And the Power card is one that tends to reveal itself pretty frequently. What this card wants us to remember is that inside of us lies an infinite source of power. And we can call upon that whenever it's needed. Other people may seek to diminish that power throughout our lives, but we never lose the ability to call that power back and nurture that light that is inside of us. You can see the imagery on the front of the card it's calling to mind the light and that inner glow. And we can think of that power inside of us not like a candle, but rather like the sun. And the sun goes down at night and it's dark. We don't ever worry that the sun isn't going to come back up again. We have that confidence when we go to bed that the light will still be there the next morning. We can think of that power inside in the same way. That sometimes we transition into periods of darkness, but that doesn't mean that we're going to stay there. We just have to trust waking up the next morning that there will be sunlight. Something else that this card wants us to remember is that other people can try to diminish that light and that power that is inside of us. Sorry, the heater is coming on. Hopefully it won't be too distracting. But with the situations and the people who see that light inside of us and seek to try to put it out, this card reminds us that we always have the ability to call that light back, but we also need to monitor our boundaries to prevent people from trying to put that light out. We want to nourish our power with people who support that light that's inside of us. This card is one that can reveal itself when we need to clear our center of any feelings of unworthiness and self-doubt. This card appears when it wants us to be reminded of our own potential. We may feel disconnected from our personal power during times of stress, and we may feel our light dimmed by painful experiences. And we may feel like we are transitioning into a period of feeling like we're in the dark. This card reminds us that all of these experiences of pain and stress we can take these experiences and turn them into our power. But one thing that I do want to clarify about that, this card is not saying that we need to take these sources of stress and bury them down and power through them. That's not what this card is asking us to do. This card reminds us that we can bring back the light by honoring our feelings and acknowledging that weakness and giving ourselves the space to feel these things and let it lead to transformation. Because through that transformation, through those cycles, is how we can transition from the light to the darkness and then back to the light again. The third card that I drew is the Ask Body card. Now, this card is the second one that appeared from Hannah's first reading to her second reading. And this card just wants us to enter a dialogue with our body. It's connecting the tension and the stress that we hold in our physical body and asking us where that tension is coming from. We often overlook how stress and trauma and anxiety can manifest physically and affect our body as well as our emotional state. We often say, oh, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling anxious, but we don't consider how those feelings of stress and anxiety can also affect the way that our body feels. And how do our feelings affect our body? That is what the alignment mirror spread is asking us to look at. When we are talking about having inner and outer that are aligned, it's asking us to consider what's going on emotionally, what's going on physically, and what's going on outside of us as well. So this card wants us to examine that in order to find that realignment. Our body holds all of our experiences, but it also holds a lot of inherited experiences and trauma. We can connect the Ask Body card with the Power card. We see that imagery of the light, the eye asking us to look inward, and we also have the jaguar on the front, that powerful big cat. The imagery on the card calls to mind asking questions of what can we release from our past lives, any sort of connections to past experiences. What can we release that is no longer serving us? The next card is the Wildling card. And this card shows up when we need to break free from the systems that limit us. This card wants us to connect with those primal parts. During times of high stress and high anxiety, we can think of our body's connection on an innate historic level to stress. Back when we were, cavemen, cave people, and we were being chased by a saber-toothed jaguar, our body would go into a state of heightened stress, producing more adrenaline, shutting down systems like the desire to reproduce, because in the fight or flight mode, your body only wants to focus on survival. Once cave woman Jen escapes from this saber-toothed jaguar, her body would go back into a normal state of functioning. Once the threat has disappeared, we can go back to being in a less stressful state. You can tell that I just did some of my reading for my psychology class. I like to connect a little bit with the tarot cards. So what unfortunately happens in modern society, we don't have saber-toothed tigers that are chasing us. We have stress, and we have trauma, and we have a global pandemic that is telling us we are being chased by a saber-toothed tiger right now. And our body goes into that state of heightened stress and heightened anxiety, and it's telling us we are in danger, we are stressed out right now, we can't function normally because this is a high stakes scenario. And unlike in circumstances where the saber-toothed tiger, we kill it and then we can go and eat it for dinner, our saber-toothed cat never goes away. We are in this constant state of our bodies telling us that we are in danger, we are stressed out. And instead of being able to let that danger go, we just let that stress build up in our bodies. That's what I mean by having the card ask body, asking us how that stress and that constant anxiety and feeling of danger is affecting us physically as well as affecting our emotional state. And that is also what the Wildling card is asking us to do. It's asking us to connect with that primal part. What does my body want from me? What's interesting is that in the previous reading, we got a similar card. We got the Explorer card. And both of those cards are about freedom. The Explorer card is a card that is driven by the need for freedom and being unbound by society's expectations, and living a life that is reflecting your inner curiosity. What the Wildling card asks us to remember and connect with is finding that sense of freedom, but still keeping us grounded. Because when the Wildling card designates a sense of unbalance and chaos, the Wildling card is pure chaos and stress and that unbridled, wild feelings. An unbalanced Wildling card uses the external as a band-aid. It's using that caveman brain as the excuse to avoid the emotional work. And it's constantly hoping that the next new thing will satisfy that ungrounded instability and the gratification of doing new things, moving on to new places, meeting new people. But the new thing doesn't offer the satisfaction because instead of connecting to that inner freedom, we are looking to try and find that freedom in other places and find that freedom in other people. So we want to try and have the Wildling card that is balanced, but it can encourage us to ask questions about what the Wildling card looks like when it is off balance. The fifth card in this spread is in the position of the steps that we need to take in order to come to alignment. And this card is the higher perspective card. This is an interesting card because this is one that signifies rising above and not getting stuck in the tunnel view about things that don't really matter. Where in your life are you experiencing resistance? What things are trying to draw you out of your center? What people or experiences are trying to distract you from the path that you want to be on in order to reach your highest potential? And what new energy can we bring in to clear our mindset? Now, those are the cards that were part of the alignment mirror spread. And after I drew those 5 cards, I decided to draw a 6th card just to get a feeling for something that I thought Hannah would need to know. Just an additional message, things to consider and a card that would help tie in the theme of this reading. And the card that I pulled, interestingly enough, is one that I have never seen before in my deck. I have not pulled this card for any other readings. But I think that it really ties in to a lot of the other cards in this particular spread. And that card is the Ascension card. So I think I always like to try and find the connections between the different cards in the spread. So here we have the Ascension card, and here we also have the Higher Perspective card. We can see similar imagery here with the wings. Considering how we can rise above and fly, and also that connection with birds and flight and the freedom that the Wildling card asks us to think about. So with the Ascension card, I'm just going to read a little bit of the notes from the guidebook, because this is not a card that I have experienced in any of my other readings. The Ascension card is testament to all the work you have done. It is a nod from the universe that your efforts are seen and are being rewarded. Things are moving forward, and you will continue to progress. On the flip side, this card also reminds us that we can have an imbalance around spiritual practice. Sometimes we can become completely reliant on all things spiritual and continuing to focus on clearing and up-leveling, but not integrating these steps into our life. It can become an addiction and all about moving on to the next thing. And we think it's okay because it is spiritual in nature. But in reality, it can be disempowering. If this resonates with you, work on grounding yourself and perhaps slow down. Now, I thought that was super interesting that it brings this line about moving on to the next thing, because that connects directly with the theme from the wildling being out of balance. The unbalanced chaos of using the external and using change as a band-aid, constantly hoping to try to find satisfaction and freedom from the new and that ungrounded instability. And just pulling up that line again, we think that it's okay because it is spiritual in nature, but in reality, it can be disempowering. Again, that connection to the power card, looking for ways that we can find that inner power. The Ascension card out of balance and the Wildling card out of balance. both remind us that if we are looking for that power in the wrong places, if we are trying to power through our experiences, if we are trying to Marie Kondo our lives and just get rid of everything and do the spiritual cleanses and light the candles and burn the sage and get the tarot card readings without doing the work to connect with ourselves and ask ourselves, what do I really need in this moment? Then we are not giving light to that power in the right way. I think that the main theme of this reading is definitely one about finding that source of inner light and connecting back to that source of joy and freedom, that freedom from stress, that freedom from anxiety, that freedom from that caveman brain that is saying you are being chased by a saber-toothed tiger right now, your life is in danger, you are stressed, and you need to be in this state of heightened anxiety. This spread is encouraging us to embrace being in that part of the cycle. The cards that can be unbalanced remind us that when we try to just power through that part of the cycle and just charge ahead and bring on the change and cleanse our life and light the candles and push down those feelings, we're not bringing that light back. We can bring back that light by honoring our body and by honoring what we are feeling and giving ourselves the space to acknowledge, okay, yes, I'm feeling this. Yes, this is going on. And yes, I will be able to move past this. And yes, I will be able to wake up and have my sun shining again. I hope that this reading was helpful. It was a really neat reading to do. I always like seeing what the cards can reveal. As always, I just like to reiterate that my relationship with tarot is that these cards are a guide to help ask us questions and reveal what's going on inside and encourage a dialogue, whether it's with other people or it's with ourselves. These cards aren't meant to tell the future, but they can encourage us to examine the future path that we're on and to look at the steps that we would want to take to move towards a future path that nurtures us wholly.